Welcome to In the Zone and Construction Executives Live, brought to you by U.S. Construction Zone, bringing you strategies for success with construction innovators and change makers, including In the Zone peer-nominated national award winners. Here's your host, Jeremy Owens.
Welcome back to Construction Executives Live. I'm your host, Jeremy Owens, owner and founder of 3 Generations Improvements and U.S. Construction Zone out of sunny Folsom, California. I have a fellow Folsomite near me, El Dorado Hills, tonight on the show, so I'm really looking forward to the content today. Before we dive in, I wanted to highlight a couple things. I put in the comments of the LinkedIn show 2 posts. One post is a post regarding some efforts that we're trying to help a friend that was affected by Hurricane Helene, and we're sending out packages of clothing and toys. So if you're feeling led and you want to join me in that effort, if you want to grab your team and have them help you do that, please take a look at that post. The address is there as well. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I have another friend who has family in Asheville. He spun up a website real quick, and he has we have a way to directly donate to the folks in that community. That community was ravaged by the hurricane. So please consider getting involved in those 2 ways. They're super small, but both of them are total dire need states right now. So if you're feeling led, please do so. If you have any questions, reach out to me. We are sponsored by the great team at Build12, build12.com. Automate your business into a revenue generating machine. I've been using Build12 all year. It's been great. So if you have any questions about Build12, reach out to me or contact Les over there at Build12 and he'll give you a free demo. So today's show is titled Building Technology for the Modern Business. We're going to be joined by Justin Fortier, partner at Fractal Group, as we explore how modern tech is revolutionizing business operations. We're going to discover strategies for boosting productivity, overcoming implementation challenges, and navigating entrepreneurship in the digital age. We're going to learn from Justin's extensive experience in web and product development as he shares his insights on modernizing businesses and driving growth through innovative tech solutions for the construction industry and beyond. Justin Fortier is a trailblazing tech entrepreneur, big-time entrepreneur with proven track record of building and scaling successful companies. As founder of Fractal Group, a consortium focused on technology services, software startups, and angel investing, Justin has established himself as a visionary leader in the industry. Justin's entrepreneurial journey began at FYC Labs right here in Folsom, a boutique design agency he founded and led as CEO and CTO. And he has been named finalist for CEO of the Year twice, a 40 under 40 Next Top Business Leader in 2024, Mentor of the Year honoree by San Diego Business Journal. Please help me welcome Justin Fortier. Justin, thanks for being here.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
I tell people often, wouldn't that be nice in your home if you just had that bio? It just piped into your house.
just earning respect.
That's right.
I don't think my kids would get it, but at least I'd feel better about myself.
Nor would they care.
Right. Exactly.
First off, I read in your bio somewhere that you're a hockey fan and you play hockey. So we got to start there. We're in Northern California. We don't have a lot of us around here. So how did you get started in hockey? And thanks for being a fan here.
Yeah, of course. I grew up in South Lake Tahoe, California. So from the mountains, grew up skiing, a little bit of ice hockey up there, played a little bit of college, and then just beer league hockey, rec hockey, hanging out with friends.
Yeah.
For me, it's actually been an amazing part of my entrepreneurial journey because I happened to join a team that a bunch of guys on the team were all small business owners. So we commiserate over beers after the game and give each other advice. And I kind of had that free consulting group that would help me through my early days. When I was first learning to start my business.
Nice. Right on. Are you a Sharks fan or are you?
Yeah, Sharks fan, of course. And
play a little rebuild we're going on now, but that's okay.
Yeah, it'll be a little while. At least we'll have some fun players to watch, or some young fun players to watch in the next few years.
Yeah, totally.
Tickets are cheap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. We can get into the tank now. No problem. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got to this point now at the Fractal Group.
Yeah. So like I said, grew up in South Lake Tahoe, kind of more of a mountain mind, camping, fishing, hiking, ice hockey type of person. Didn't really ever think entrepreneurialism was going to be my thing growing up, but turns out if you kind of have some of that grit and that toughness from doing those type of things, it actually transitions really nicely. Ended up going to undergrad Santa Barbara, grad school in San Diego, where I started FYC Labs. So right out of grad school, I was actually 2008, not the best time to be looking for a job.
Nope.
Master's degree, kind of useless. So I actually joined a restaurant group, which is where I'll lead into on where we came up with the consortium idea.
Okay.
Restaurant group, building just funny little dive bars with craft cocktails. Kind of, it was novel at the time in 2008 to 2012. Met a lot of really talented graphic designers, web developers, marketers, and just kind of created this really awesome network of people who are really out of work, but we're still trying to do creative, interesting things at the time. So you end up with this amazing talent pool and network that you could build without having to go through the corporate structure, corporate ladder. Yeah. And I left that with an amazing partner, and we started FYC Labs right out of working at the restaurant group.
Right on. So obviously you have this entrepreneurial spirit. Do you think you're born with that, or you kind of said that you know, the kind of the grit and sandpaper that you grew up with helped kind of lead into it, but do you think you're born with it, or do you think you can learn to it?
Yeah, I think you can learn to it. I think it's really hard if you're going into this for the wrong reasons. Yeah. I find I can't do anything else. I'll never be able to go have a 9-to-5 job ever again the rest of my life. I don't even think I'd make it. I think I'd get fired in like an hour. Right. Too much of an opinion, too much want to do more and be innovative and push. Yeah. Where that sort of structure inside that corporate world is a little more status quo maintenance. And so for me, I like the freedom to be able to create and do things. I like to move fast. So for me, I really can't imagine doing anything else. So for me, it's an easy choice. I think there's, in some ways I'm born with it, but in some ways this journey has created that person who really just can't do anything but just want to push harder, learn faster, and be innovative.
Yeah, no, I can totally relate to that. What do you think are some key factors that contribute to that entrepreneurial journey and success?
A lot of times, I think, there's different parts of your business that need different personality types, right? So that an early startup mentality, small business, underfunded, bootstrapped, pulling yourself up by, your bootstraps. Those people tend to have a chip on their shoulder of some sort, is what I found, is they've got something that they're frustrated with and they're tired of dealing with. For us, it was, I was tired of IT culture. IT culture was not healthy. It wasn't teaching people the right skills, and it was creating all these artificial limitations that I felt we could punch through by giving people who maybe overlooked an opportunity to learn skills that they actually would exceed the status quo. So this caginess just drove me nuts. I wanted collaboration. I wanted innovation, not status quo and job for positions. So for me, there was a chip on my shoulder there. You'll hear this throughout all of our businesses. There was a chip on my shoulder about collections. I can't stand having to collect money from people and send reminders and how poor it's done today with QuickBooks. So I think there's always sort of an itch or a problem that they just need to solve, and that they have the second is they have the audacity to do so. Yeah, they can do it, which comes from a series of confidence from having done things in life that you succeeded at, even though they were hard. So that grit, that's where that comes in. It goes, oh, I can do this. I'm not nervous about what the outcomes will be. I know it'll be hard. It probably won't happen as fast as I want to, but I will get there.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. You'd be fired in the first week. I think you said chip a couple times, dude. That's not gonna be good in the corporate world.
No, it doesn't work out.
No, I feel you there. So how do you navigate those various stages of the journey? From the initial spark. I mean, a lot of people have the ideas, right? But the process of scaling up, I mean, obviously that's where you need someone to come alongside you, because that's not just something that you go, oh, I have an idea, let's go.
Yeah. And that's where I talked about that network that was around me. And that's always been my thing, is I maybe traditional male attitude where I like to do a thing and then hang out with those guys after and talk. And maybe that's not just males, females will do that too, but it tends to be that traditional mindset of, hey, let's go do something difficult and then we'll all celebrate with a pint after. And then that conversation becomes very real, because you've earned the respect of the person you're sitting in front of. And then that network becomes authentic. There's too many of these contrived networks that people end up in. A lot of Slack groups end up just becoming contrived. Some of these other parts of life just they're fake relationships, but when you have to achieve something together, that becomes really interesting. It's still great I still, of course, watch a lot of podcasts, read a lot of books to get myself knowledge, but that core group that gets you through the hard times is someone who you kind of have to have some battle scars with, because they'll give you the honest truth. They're not going to sugarcoat stuff for you. To keep on going, hang in there, little stupid poster on the wall.
Yeah,
they're going to say, dude, you need to get up earlier. You need to wake up earlier. You need to try harder. You need to, tell your kids it might be a couple of days till dad gets to play, basketball with you or something. So, and they give you that peace of mind to help you get through that step, because all of a sudden they see the potential that you have because they know you intimately. So it's not just me along the way. It's always been a network that I've put around myself.
Yeah, that whole thing of breaking bread or having a beer with somebody, that really does cement relationships. It's true. If you can't just have the business relationship and expect it to really blossom. And yeah, that network is really cool. I'm doing so many similar things in my industry. So we have a lot of similar things going on, trying to actually create a real network instead of like a social media network, right? One where people ask you, hey, do you know somebody? And you go, yes, I do. And that just changes your life. It really does.
And something like this is a nice little entry point for them to say, hey, is this somewhere I want to be? Oh, okay. And then they kind of have the opportunity to say, there's a lot of like-minded individuals over here. And that's where the co-working space up in Folsom that we work with, you come in and see me at. I don't go there because it has the best amenities. I go there because it has the best people and they have the best conversations and the best innovative ideas.
Yeah. Like-mindedness when you're getting around those people, it really is infectious. So I can't say it enough. So how does a business adopt kind of some of these tailored solutions to address their unique challenges? Because that's, like I said, that's where the rubber meets the road. How do they kind of address those situations?
Right. That innovative mindset needs to kick in. There's a lot of opportunities for people to say, oh, it just won't work for me. Well, let's take the big problem that occurs, which is project funding and project collections, right? That's one big problem that I'm trying to solve today with one of our applications. And they just say, well, it's just how it is. I just need to hire more bookkeepers. I just need to do more follow-ups, right? And it's just this painstaking process that we all suck it up and say, yeah, net 30 is more like net 45 with this client.
Right.
And, they get so confused when I send these invoices. So that mindset that says there has to be a better way, that's where you start looking at the tools. And you start saying, oh, these tools a good fit? And can I, quote unquote, hack the tool to solve my problem? Maybe it doesn't have all the features you need, but can I make it work? So I use a lot of project management tools in our world. With the software development, we have the agile development process and all these wonderful project management methodologies. Eventually, you end up hacking your tool to a spot that works with your process flow. And can that tool be innovative enough and move around enough? And is it intuitive enough to use that you're not fighting the tool to get to where you need to be? So it first comes with, I have to solve this problem. I know there's a better way. And there's a huge network of programmers and solution finders out there that are going to solve this problem for you in advance that you can just pick up and write off their coattails. Or if it's not there, maybe you need a custom solution on top of that. And then there's a huge network of contractors who just like building a custom home. There's you need that. And there's a whole group of us out there that are solving these problems every day.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of brings me back to that. What are some of the ways to effectively navigate the challenges of scaling a startup? Because, like I said, the scaling part is where, we can have those great ideas, but how do we make it work for us?
Yeah, right. So we just got back from Austin. We went to this big conference called Get Scalable in Austin about 2-3 weeks ago. Amazing conference, amazing workshop. And they were very thoughtful to tell you that there isn't some magic formula that you download. It's use a spreadsheet, do the work, do the manual work so that you're touching the data as it goes, so that you intuitively know your business processes. So start with that. Start to truly understand and stop saying, well, I'm the marketing guy. I don't know tech. Well, no, get in there. You need to learn it. You need to know it at least enough that you can speak the language and then have the conversation. And they encouraged us to go in and do the work. We don't need AI to solve all these problems. A simple spreadsheet solves a lot of these problems and gives you, and there's an extra 15 minutes a week, but that 15 minutes a week is you getting to know your business and knowing how to scale it intuitively. It's not just some book you read. It's something that says, when I'm in this gut decision or this major decision that I need to make in a split second, I know everything about my business and I know what's going to be right for me. So that was the first thing that we learned, was keep it simple. You don't need all these amazing solutions. Then once you've got your process down, layer that on with some automation, some tools that will help with the process so that you can start to create that margin, because you need that margin. You need that cash flow to keep going.
Yeah, right.
Just because you have an idea, just because you have amazing talent doesn't mean squat. You need to have margin. You need to have cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping an eye on that was the next big piece for us. Is okay, we've got the systems. Great. That's wonderful. How are we bringing in value to our customers? Now, how are we making a margin, not revenue, margin on our businesses? Right. That's when you start to scale, because you have money in the bank.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no secret that entrepreneurs, I mean, shout out to Granite City, they're full of thinkers and dreamers, right? They're everywhere. But how important is the team around you? Because, you have that idea and now you need the team around you to take that idea and implement it. And that's been my challenge personally, is not having enough team around me to be like, hey, I have this great idea, and then having someone to help me do it.
Yeah. Whose book is it? Is it Eric Ries or Malcolm Gladwell? The E-Myth Mastery. I can't remember exactly who wrote that book, but they have the 3 different roles, right? There's the dreamer, who basically is the one who's thinking outside the box. They're pushing the boundaries. They're bringing in the big ideas. They're bringing in the investors, the attention, and they've got the storytelling going on. Like, hey, this is going to be wonderful. Then you have kind of the person in the middle who I forget what they call it. I think it was like a wizard or something, where they're the ones who are kind of making all the crap happen, right? They're the ones who are actually figuring it out and creating the solution. So think Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, right? Steve Jobs is out there dreaming big ideas. Wozniak's in the garage tinkering until he gets the damn thing working, right? So in some cases, you have to play both, or you have to play all the roles, because you are a solo entrepreneur. But as you build up that team, that group of people around you, you start to find out where your weaknesses are and say, hey, I need a dreamer. I need somebody who can go out there and think big and talk big about what we're doing. Or you transition to be that person. I'm in the middle of a transition of somebody who just was always heads down, do the work, get the job done, do it myself if I have to now being, hey, how do I create a vision and drive a larger company toward a future of innovative products, innovative solutions, and talk to the world about it?
Is that hard to not get? Because I'm control freak myself in my businesses. It's like, I always feel like, oh crap, I can do it better. And like, I have a hard time, letting go sometimes. So is that hard for you to let go?
So I think there's 2 stages of this. And that's also part of this. You definitely recommend to your listeners to check out the Get Scalable book. The first, it is a series of letting go. So the first one is having a system in place that if followed, things will be fine. Right. Then you have this whole, I need to manage it to make sure it's all being followed. And you're sort of playing referee, outside of bounds, you need to go back and redo this thing. Right. So you play that for a while until you find somebody else who can play that role for you. And then you can trust that person who's sort of your operator on a day-to-day basis. Then you have the firefights. So let's say, for example, you've let go of control, you trust your team, but then something hits the fan, right? Some project goes awry, some client's mad, you get the phone call, hey, remember when I called you 2 years ago and I trusted your business with this, and you had a contractor who dropped the ball, right? And so now you're back in these firefights. That is probably that's the stage I'm in. I've got fewer and fewer of them every week and every month. I just went on an awesome vacation up the Rogue River, was able to detach for 4 days, and it was amazing.
Nice. But
the problem is you come back and there's those fires that really aren't letting you get away and move to that next piece. So that's where you got to have a whole other layer of leadership that can take care of those fires and that you can trust, and that you're paying them well enough and incentivizing them well enough to want to solve those fires. So that's where your scalability, your CEO scalability needs to come in is getting out of the firefighting. And that, I think, is the hardest one, because the consequences of that fire, and you want to jump in, and there's an ego attached to it, the hero ego that comes in and says, I solve it, and that's why you guys all respect me. That's really hard to let go. I admit that's really the one that I'm stuck with now at this point. It's happening fewer and fewer, and it doesn't happen overnight. But that's where my scalability as a CEO comes in.
I like the referee thing. I'll have to do that. That's kind of a nice way of, still staying involved and knowing what's going on. So that's kind of probably where I'm at right now.
We create cute, fun characters that do it. We have a disapproving Shiba. I don't know if you remember the Shiba Inu run. Yes. Our whole team got in on crypto for a little bit. Yeah. So this Shiba that gets sent to you says, hey, you have a disapproving Shiba. And then there's like an angry Rottweiler if you're really messing up, right? So we have levels of that to keep it still fun and a good culture, but the accountability layers are in there, and they're the referees. And we put more automation on that accountability as well, where we do a lot of time tracking for our jobs. So if you don't track your time, you get the disapproving Shiba. You forgot to log your time.
Yeah, that does kind of keep it light. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So in your opinion, what are the most crucial topics for entrepreneurs to understand in order to achieve success, especially in today's landscape, which is changing every second?
It really depends on the stage of your business. I think when you're early stage business, you really need to understand your market and your customer, and you need to understand how you're going to go to market. That's a big one, because if you have customers, you'll figure out solutions, you'll do things, right? So if you can figure out how to get those customers in early, if you have, maybe you're going into a new, into a field, but you can bring some customers with you from your previous gig or from your previous job. Those are huge. I was able to convert my job into a customer immediately out of starting my business. So that customer is the most important thing. Your product can be good enough, and those customers who believe in you and want to support you, there are tons of them that will.
Right.
That's the first thing for your early start of your company. Then once you've got things rolling, and understand, you're gonna probably not eat. You're gonna be, you're not gonna take a lot of profit. You're gonna be, you got to be ready for that. Maybe you have a side gig, and this is keeping you going. But then the next part is understand how to babysit a P&L. And I know that sounds horrible and it sounds boring and it's not what you got into business for because you're a trainer. But if you can't understand your P&L, you're going to be lost. You're going to be done. If you don't have some way of taking a look at it and going through, maybe not every transaction, every ledger item, and maybe you got a lot of transactions in your accounting system, but at least your categories, and you can't look at that category and say, something's wrong here. Why are we spending this much on marketing? If you aren't able to want to inquire that P&L, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, because it's not just going to be enough to have your revenue going, because your costs will start to catch up quickly and you could lose a customer. And if your costs aren't under control, you're out.
Yeah, it's such a huge challenge for the construction industry, is like knowing your numbers and, margin and markup. The whole thing is kind of a wild ride. But yeah, you really got to start. You got to know that right from the get-go. Otherwise, you are sunk. You're totally right about that.
And have a process for reviewing that. And then once you've got that thing under control and you're like, look, I'm consistently hitting, my target margins, depending on what industry you're in, 20, 30% margins, 10% for some consultancies, right? And you can trust that margin, then hit the gas pedal. Because if you're not on your margins and you're not getting your money in and you're hitting gas pedals, stuff's just going to spin out of control.
Right. Good point. And obviously we kind of talked about, but what's the role of leadership in this successful startup? I mean, we talked about teams, but tell me a little bit about leadership.
Early on, it's to be the Atlas shrug, that just carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. Yeah. Be that person, be strong, be positive, be authentic, and just be that strength for your team, and that to keep that vision forward. Then you'll hit a point in which you'll become the referee that just says, I need to make sure my systems are being followed, and I'm the accountability holder. As a CEO, I make sure my executive team knows that my job is to hold you accountable.
Right.
That if I'm not holding you accountable, if I'm not holding your colleague accountable, you'd be pissed at me. Right. If I weren't holding every that layer accountable, you'd be disappointed in me, and remind them that that's your job. Now, that is a difficult thing to overcome, to have them trust you, that the accountability doesn't mean they hate you and that they want to jump ship. It's that you're doing this because that's your responsibility. Right. So at a certain point, you just become the accountability provider that says, I'm going to establish systems and processes that get me to where I need to go. Then you become a visionary of moving things forward. You start to go outside of your business, and you start to grow the network. You start to build the marketing. You start to build the systems further and further, and find the talent and inspire the talent to do the same level of accountability systems and processes and building. So it's sort of like having kids, the early part, you're changing diapers and you're doing all the dirty work. And then you start to detach from your kids a little bit more once they have some trust. And then you kind of have to let them go, knowing that you put what you could into them, because you know you can be there everywhere, and you don't want to be a helicopter parent. You don't want to ruin their whole life that way. So it's a very similar analogy for me in how I've approached the business.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it springboarded me right into the next question I have, which was the company culture piece. You have to have the leadership first, but the culture thing is kind of a weird topic, because you can talk about it all you want, but how do you be authentic? How is it real? And you could have a tag, you can have things written on your website, you can have core values, you can have all this crap, but until it's real to your employees, it doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah, the authenticity is the hard part, right? So authentic leadership is not easy when you yourself are feeling imposter syndromes. When you yourself don't feel like maybe I shouldn't be the leader of this because maybe I'm not smart enough, maybe someone else is doing better. You're looking on social media and some friend of yours business is killing it. You start to get a little bit of FOMO and jealousy, and then you start to get that lack of self-confidence. That happens. It is natural. So then you start doing weird contrived stuff where like, hey, let's have Thursday coffee days or forced happy hour stuff that I just can't stand.
Right.
So what I learned, I did that. I went through my fair share of that early on because I read books about leadership is this and blah, blah, blah. And I was a little bit in that Silicon Valley culture of really fake work-life balance when really they just wanted work-life blend. So there was a lot of fake culture there. So what I learned was I have a personality that isn't that affectionate. So when stuff's going bad and somebody's having a hard day, that's not me. And I can't be that person. So I hired people who kind of complement me and have that skill set that can handle the tougher days for the employees who are going through personal things. I've kind of put up a wall over the years of saying, look, I might have to fire this person tomorrow. So I can't let that personal situation affect my decision-making because I have a whole other group of people. I have 100 people in our companies that rely on me to make decisions that keep them employed as well. So I had to put up a wall that made myself a little more tough and a little less approachable. But I know the culture needed that. So I put someone in place who has a much more approachable personality, who will talk through people with that and will work through that. So that's where the being authentic to yourself and then getting rid of all the BS that you've read in books about, mindful Wednesdays or mindful Mondays, all that stuff just goes for me. And they can create that for themselves and they can experiment with that. But me, my relationship with my employees is the work. And that's really all there is to it. Whatever else they're doing, if they want to do some stuff together and they have their own relationships, great. But giving them a healthy relationship with their work that is, I can detach from this if I want to, because I'm having a bad week. Somebody passed away in your family, and this just becomes your escape. We've had multiple people who have had, unfortunately, losses over COVID and over other times that the work was the escape for them to get away from that kind of struggle. Nobody asked about it. They said, are you okay? We just messaged, good. You need your space. You want to work? Got it. And so I don't know, that's how the culture that we've created is. It takes a lot to say I'm going to be that detached, but also say I care about you enough to put someone who will be there for you. But don't come to me with that problem because this isn't our relationship. Our relationship is very professional and work oriented.
Yeah. I mean, how do you go about finding that, like who you are and who, do you do a lot of assessments, personality assessments and things like that? Because, I'm obviously a lot of males can kind of relate to not always being sensitive and, empathetic at times. So kind of more driven and head down and things like that. So how do you go about finding those people to complement you?
I ran StrengthsFinders. Obviously we did that. That was something we did early on. That was great. Got to know sort of like our personality strengths, figured out that sales on a one-to-one level is like my thing. I'm not great at the broad sales level, but like one-on-one, wonderful with people. So this was one of my strengths. So we did a little bit of that. And then I went with people who I'd worked with in the past. I just knew them and I knew they would work well with me and I knew they complimented me. So I got lucky enough and just having that broad network because interviewing for that is really tough because you don't know how much of that is contrived from the beginning. I'm not a human lie detector. I can't tell when someone's BSing me that well. So I also put this other person there because they have a great sense of when someone's they have amazing emotional intelligence. So I put my COO in that position. That guy, I just happen to have worked with him. So it's just one of those things where you got to spend time with people, network, and just be out there. So it's kind of that. It's that. We call it dark social sometimes when you're doing things in the background that aren't really like. There's no direct correlation to some sort of outcome. There's just I know that going out here and being a part of this is going to help some way or another. It's going to help me learn about people, or I might meet the right person. I might get the right introduction that might give me that person that I need, because this isn't something I can buy off the shelf. These type of leaders. They don't go on Indeed looking for a job. They're sought after.
Or headhunted. Correct. Yes. Yeah. So different. I mean, all right, so we got the vision, we got the startup going, we even have a plan in place, but the $1 million question is how do you stay sustainable? How do you grow and stay sustainable and relevant as a company, especially in your field? I mean, you're in the tech side of things. God, it's like, how do you stay on top of everything?
Right. So there's two pieces of that. Again, going back to my restaurant days, there was a term called "don't turn your back on your regulars." Right. These are the people who got you there. And just because there's some new innovative tech doesn't mean, see ya, We're out of here.
Right.
Those people got us through the hard times. Those are the people who give us those little referrals, little projects that when stuff's not coming in, when the big one's not coming in, or maybe some check is delayed, we've got these little projects that keep us going. So we've always had the company started out as a website development company. We didn't do software development at the beginning. We just did websites, WordPress, Wix, stuff like that. Sure. We still have that. That is a 4 or 5 person team that's exactly the same size as it was 5-6 years ago. But that is what keeps us going in the slow cycles, and it gives us a lot of foot in the door type stuff. So to me, it's locking in a system that works. You know their profitability, your margins on it, and you keep that regulars going. So that way, when the new innovative stuff that you're pushing that is trendy, that will tail off, you've got those regulars to fall back. I mean, going back to my bar days and restaurant days, we'd have Friday, Saturday nights. We're always popping off, right? That was always great. We'd go, we find the next DJ, blah, 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 right? And then all of a sudden, maybe we'd miss. Maybe there's a new club in town and the place is dead. Yeah. But our Monday through Thursday crowd kept coming in, kept flow, right? So that those regulars keep us alive. The other thing is, again, babysit that P&L. Keep an eye on your expenses. Don't be silly. Don't let things get out of control, and don't get rid of those luxuries. Know where you're going to pull next. Always have a plan for when you're going to cut costs, exactly how that's going to go. So that way you're not trying to figure it out in the moment, and then you're too late.
Yeah, I think the challenge that we're having right now in the construction industry is that, we're in the digital age, we're in the technology boom, right? We're a little bit late to adopt things. Now they're everywhere, and we're trying to figure out which one to use. And a lot of us are just buying up shit. We're like, yeah, I want to do that one. That software looks good. You know what I mean? And it's just the implementation sucks, obviously. We're not good at actually taking it and going forward. But how do you not just, with all the technology advances, how do you kind of have some discernment and okay, what will actually work for us? Do you get the whole team involved? For us, do we get the labor force involved? Do we say, hey, will you use this?
There's shiny object syndrome, right? Where every time you see some cool looking new things can solve all your problems, and you get sold by some awesome, sales guy from San Jose or something, right? Who just comes in and tells you, I know all your problems. Here it is, and here's a solution. And you're like, well, dang it didn't work out the way we thought because we didn't realize this process needed, or the implementation is going to take us 6 months because we got this new project in and this becomes stuck on the back burner.
Right.
So that is the shiny new object problem. I have that big time with my team because developers inherently are innovative. They want to do new things. Right. They want to push. It's hey, you got to prove that you can do it with the early stuff. Prove that you can do it with a spreadsheet. And if that's not working, then go get yourself some software. Or if you found a new opportunity that says, hey, if I could just have this one extra step, that would save my business $10,000 or whatever. Yeah. And you don't need a big bloatware. The products that we've been building lately are very lightweight. Our account receivable product is simply a statement viewer with a payment rails. That's it. We don't need to become your new accounting system. We're going to solve this specific problem very, very well for you. And we're going to make it super affordable, right? Yeah. So because our goal in the long run is to build that audience and then monetize that audience in the long run. So that's another chip on my shoulder. I want to disrupt that sales-led growth strategy by all these Silicon Valley businesses, or maybe not just Silicon Valley, but all these tech businesses who are doing all this pressure sales because they're trying to sell the solution to you, even if it's a wrong fit. And you're like, come on, you're going to give us all a bad reputation. There's going to be this stigma about tech, which is exactly what you're describing. Is I'm running around buying everything, and none of it's solving the real problem.
Right. And I think, for us, it's the implementation. It's how is that going to integrate into our other processes and our business in general? It has to, like you said, it has to solve a problem, and it has to save us money somehow.
Yep.
Right. If it's just going to keep adding and piling on, then what's the point of the tech in the first place?
I had a call with a client, gardening client, right, or a nursery provider, right? So they do plants and stuff, and there's this reconciliation process that their accountant. They said, "Hey, our accountant's complaining. It's just killing us. She's spending two hours extra per week." And I'm like, "Tell her to get over it. It's okay. She's got to do the work. It's okay. It's going to cost you this much money for me to build you this crazy implementation.
Right.
Maybe it's just best to go back to her and have a difficult conversation that says, yeah, that's just going to be part of your job." Right. That is it really going to save me money, because the alternative to do an integration is big. So I think there's an opportunity in the space to become a construction technology consultant. I think there's some opportunities for folks who maybe like yourself, who are kind of forward thinking, could find those those individuals and say, hey, let this person come in and give you the right solution. Let them package up your tech stack because they get it and they can speak the language and they can run the integrations and keep your costs down. I think there's a cool little opportunity in your space right now for that.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right, because we definitely have the shiny object syndrome, but also we don't have the skills to implement effectively. So even if it could work for us, they're not providing the team enough to come around side us and say, all right, let's get you guys through this beginning phase. Because the beginning phase is obviously the hardest part, right? Like, you don't know how to use it. You're using 5% of it. The other 95 could really help you, but it's just like they're gone because they sold it to you already. And so that's kind of where we're at as an industry. We're just kind of like, crap, now we're all just kind of going, what do we use again?
I also see in the home builder and we work with some HOAs and small home builders. There's this tendency to just grab nephew because nephew's young and we assume that they know technology. That doesn't mean they know the business process. Yeah, maybe they know what to click and where to go, but that doesn't mean they understand the business process and what to build. So there's a little bit of a danger in just assuming the young folk can do these integrations. It's funny. I watched it too many times. Like, oh, my nephew runs this, and I meet the nephew. And nephew's like, I've never even had a job before. Like, oh God, just because you know how to use an iPad doesn't mean you're a technology.
So funny, but so true. I've actually heard that exact story before. Yeah. So I guess what kind of inspired you to focus on this technology implementation, and now with AI, coming into the fold, does that change the way you strategize and move your businesses forward?
So I guess it kind of goes back to what are we actually doing? So Fractal Group is a consortium of businesses that I took it from that restaurant industry mindset. Was we don't have to create some umbrella company with all this like bureaucracy. Instead, let's spin up different businesses, LLCs, and let's have this sort of agreed upon. There's nothing legal in writing, but there's this agreed upon community that says, hey, we're going to support each other. And it's a few business owners, friends of mine, who are all part of this, and we'll give each other discounted services. We'll use similar systems so that way someone can transition. For example, we have one of our portfolio companies is like, hey, look, we're going to be letting go of our engineer. Do you have a place for her to come back to? I'm like, absolutely. You guys are all using the same system. She'll integrate like that. So I don't have to worry about, getting someone up to speed. So there's a talent pool sharing as well in this group. So that was the main impetus of why we created Fractal Group. And that came from the restaurant side where a bartender could work at one place. That was the same POS system, same menu item names, same structure. So then, and similar enough uniforms that they could just cut from one to the other. But it wasn't this nasty corporate top down, so that you didn't have entrepreneurialism at each of the individual sites, right? It still creates that entrepreneurial vibe, still creates that energy, that excitement at each of these individual businesses. So that was the big inspiration for it, was to be able to create a community of products, because we are obsessed with solving problems. Like I said, the chip lands on the shoulder and I got to solve it, right? So we need to be doing that and then creating more businesses that do that. It's not enough to just do that as an agency, because I want to think more broad across industries and solving problems in a bigger way than just, hey, I just solved my client's problem. No, I want to solve this for the industry. So that's the big inspiration for the group that we created. And I'm excited about it because it's really working.
Yeah. So how do you find complementary pieces of all of it, or do you actually have some that do the same or similar things?
No, I definitely don't have any competitors to one another, but they are complementary. So we stay around fintech and project funding. So again, the big one's the account receivable platform that helps, construction companies would do great with this, with bringing in their accounts receivable through this platform, help small businesses. And then we have a startup product for getting investment in. So it's all kind of getting that cash flow, because that's the pain point that really is most visceral to me. And that's around one vertical that we have is fintech and accounting systems. The other one is my partner who I'm working on this with is cybersecurity. And that's just because he has a passion for it. We've got another partner in the group, and we've got a vertical of 3 or 4 products inside of cybersecurity. So we do stay in our lane, so to speak, and we do stay in tech, but I like to stay in tech, small business solutions and startups. He's got more of a cybersecurity enterprise. So there is tons of complementary. Like we've cross-sold several of our products between the businesses.
That really is an exciting business model. Like where do you see that going? Is that going to, Obviously, as you transition to like more of this thinker, leader, visionary person, is that going to be more of your time in developing that model?
Yeah, I really enjoy building the system out for each one of these. And then if I can create a system that works generally, maybe there's like an 80, look again back to the integrations where it's not quite exactly, but we can hack it to a way that it works for each of the businesses.
Right.
And then integrate them and see them through. That is to me the most fulfilling part of my job, is to go build those systems out and then have conversations with other people about that and get them excited, to get them part of our group and just grow that community, which will inevitably get more referrals, because I think that's the best way to grow at this stage that we're at. Yeah, at some point we'll have mass marketing, advertising type, approach. But right now, just that community and talking about how exciting this is why I'm doing it.
That's really cool. I mean, it's such a great model. I mean, I've always been a big networker, so essentially creating that network of folks with you guys. I mean, it like you said earlier, like you can't go back to a job.
No.
And once you have this spirit about you, but also once you have a network like this, you also don't need a job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because now you have like a real network of people who will support you. Something wild happens to you or your businesses, no worries. I got all of these guys right here that know who I am and are ready to say, let's go. So, I mean, it makes you kind of feel different about your career, right?
The conversations are so much more interesting too, right? We're talking about systems and philosophy, not how do I not lose my job, right? I never want to be in that mindset ever. I want to think. I mean, I didn't go to school and push my brain hard to sit around and move widgets left and right? Just so I can do the job. I want to push. I want to be challenged.
Yeah, no doubt. So, and you're early on in your process, did you seek out a mentor? Did you have one, find one, and kind of describe us through that process? Because obviously, as an entrepreneur, you're going to need one at some point.
So I had first a great mentor at the restaurant group who I basically told him, I walked in the office one day and I said, look, I want to start my own business someday. Can I just work some extra hours and shadow you and learn? And of course, like anybody who says that immediately goes, oh, absolutely. Get here. Come over here. Learn this, learn that. I mean, that was a great mentor. And he taught me a lot. Taught me how when we had some inheritance money come into my wife and her family, what do we do with that? First thing I did, we're not touching money. I'm going to talk to these mentors. That's just always been my approach, is go talk to the people who I know have done this before. And what did they have to say? Then I had that hockey team that I talked about where I'd have the beers after. So they were all ad hoc mentors. There was never a professional approach or like a outreach for the mentor until I got into growing enterprise sales on a SaaS product that I was working on. Mm-hmm. Then I went to UC San Diego, had a program called Connect, and we had a roundtable of CEOs who were sort of more formally put together. And I was able to work with that group in a more intentional fashion. And then as that moved on, I moved back up here to Northern California, and we had the Granite City CEO roundtable, which you've come in and hung out with us on. And that was my group for a while. Right now, I'm actually struggling to find a new group. I feel like I've just been out there running around. I guess some of what we're doing with Fractal, I've been traveling around with angel investors, which is a whole new journey for me. We have this traveling group who go to conferences together, and that's becoming a bit of a mentor group for me as well. So they're always ad hoc for me. Although I have done some more organized. I did do one professional coach. It wasn't the right fit for me. It just felt like for me, it was too inauthentic. Yeah, it was too to run along. So I've always liked them more ad hoc.
Yeah, right on. I mean, just in my journey too, I felt the same way. Like it feels better when it's authentic, but at the same time, reach out when you need it. Yep. It's such a journey, and with us, like I said, with AI and with everything that's going on around us, it's hard to stay on top of technology and what it can do for your business. So if you don't have someone that's there that can help you, especially in construction, where if you put your head down, 1 year goes by and you're like, oh shit, what happened? Well, chat GPT, what? Like it can be kind of wild. So what would be your advice for our industry in like, hey, how do you kind of measure what technology will work well for you? Like, what's a good starting point?
I like having friends who are tinkerers. So I'm not that much of a tinkerer, which is funny because I'm innovative in approach to systems. I'll tinker with a spreadsheet. I'll tinker with business systems, but I don't tinker with new tech all that often, but I have some friends who do. Yeah. And then I just have lunch with them.
Yeah.
And I understand the product, I understand what they're trying to solve, and they'll tell me a few features about it. Then I'll go tinker with it for 15 minutes and I'll get what it does pretty quickly. And I'll say, okay, this is a good fit for this particular business process. They tinker just to tinker. They hear about something new on TechCrunch and they're looking at it. So there's people who are out there who are just experimenters and they play with every tool, this, shiny object. I let them do that first. Then they distill down when I explain a problem that I'm having. They tend to have a solution for me or some app that does a thing. So then I'll go investigate the app because like you said, there's too many to looking at. So again, that comes back to having that network, having that trusted individual who just happens to tinker with a lot of different stuff. And then I go, oh, here's what we're doing. And I'll be like, oh, I did it with a spreadsheet first, right? I always say I do it with a spreadsheet. So I intrinsically know that process so that I'm not just fence tossing to the tech. So I go, hey, I've been tracking projects with this spreadsheet. Is there something better? Oh yeah, check out Workglue or check out Asana. It's a better way to do that. Oh, cool. Let me go see. Oh, that will work. Oh, and it makes life easier, Right. But I first need to know the problem that I'm dealing with, and can I solve it with just a little bit of elbow grease?
Yeah, and so back to the spreadsheet. I mean, obviously knowing if it will pay for itself, and then going back to that P&L and going like, all right, here's proof. That we added more to this line, but look what happened to this line. So like that's the hard part is like it does take some time to measure those results, but if you don't measure them, then you're never going to know, right?
Right, and that's GPT sits in that bucket of like tinker with it, and then see if you want to invest in a lot of these. Well, and most of these apps out here they're AI driven, they're just wrappers for GPT. So see if maybe just having conversations with ChatGPT solves this problem, right? Like if you don't need this fancy wrapper that costs you $100 a month per user, ends up adding $10,000 to your bottom line, and there goes your margins, right? Maybe you can just work with GPT yourself first to understand the problem, and you go, okay, this is getting to a point where that extra 5% that the app adds is worth it, but that first 95% might just be solved with just chatting with GPT.
Yeah, interesting. So tell me a little bit about what's new with FYC. You mentioned the payments platform, but talk a little bit about like what's exciting you there now.
So FYC Labs, the agency, is growing. We're doing client work. That's our main thing. So we've spun off the accounting platform and everything like that sits inside of a group called Fractal. And then FYC is the primary service and technology service provider there. Okay. The company is doing great. It's growing at a very healthy pace and a very healthy P&L. So again, that's where the mind. Yes. We have systems for a really simple, and I could pull from tech. I could pull from QuickBooks and I could automate it every day if I wanted to. I'm definitely capable of doing that, but I make our COO copy and paste the data directly out of the QuickBooks, paste it in, take a screenshot and share it with the team because I want him to touch those numbers at least a little bit and look at them and say, whoa, we have an anomaly. What the hell is this $5,000 expense that we had when we only had a $100 budget, right? I want that. So for me, that's what's going on at FYC is solving those problems from a systems perspective, building up our quality control. With all these amazing AI tools, it's actually been great for developers to do quality control on their code to make sure things are named logically, that stuff's commented, that the code reviews are going through AI. That's been a really fun thing for us as developers. I don't think AI is taking our job in the next 5-10 years. There's a lot of logic that AI can't quite solve. There's a lot of legacy technology that needs support. But what it can do is it can accelerate our speed and increase the quality of our code and decrease the bugs and issues that happen out there. So we've been really pushing on AI for that reason. A couple new tools that we've added. But we are focused right now on growing our fintech, insurtech business portfolio. So just building more products around moving money and solving business problems has been really good for us because that's just what we've gotten really good at.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a crystal ball, I mean, you kind of mentioned it with AI, not attacking your job right now, but obviously your industry is the one where there's a little bit more uncertainty, right? Which ones is going to replace? Obviously, for me, it's not about, I'm not scared about it taking jobs because it's going to create new ones, right? Are you kind of on that fence?
I'm aware of it, and I'm making sure that we have other business models and other systems that are kind of, again, creating those checks and balances and those backstops. So I'm aware of it. I do think that it will bring down the price of developers over time and the price of developing a product. But I think that the demand of products will continue to go up. So I think there will be some, like what we would expect a digital product to do is going to go way up compared to what we have today. So when we expect them to be delivered faster, and we expect to pay less for them. So there's going to be more engineers. I think it'll kind of create a homeostasis, but I do think in general, the engineering industry, the software engineering industry will take a hit. I'm not naive to think that it's going to be one of those things that survives this with and it'll increase. Right. I think there's always going to be plenty of legacy work. We're focusing a lot on cloud migrations from, a lot of stuff coming still. There are still on-prem servers that need to be in the cloud, and cloud that needs to be transferred from one platform to the other. So that's not going to be able to be done by AI. That's very intricate work. So we're kind of creating defensible pieces there. In 5 years, it's pretty incredible what we've done in the last 5 years, right? COVID, I think, threw a whole new just willingness to try new stuff and just do things differently. So it's been really interesting. And then with everything that Elon does on a daily basis, just continues to try to push the boundaries. Right. Robotics. I mean, I don't think robots are going to be building homes anytime soon, but that's something that
they're doing them in a factory now and ship them out. So it's happening. It's just, on the wall stuff. We feel pretty confident that we're not going to be replaced with a robot on the wall, but in factories, prefab, that type of stuff is definitely the wave.
And that's been going on for a long time. Machines have been building parts for a long time. But so the skill set will change. It's going to be machine mechanics and repairs and dealing with all the things that go wrong because of humidity and temperature that happen to be in the room at the wrong time. And somebody forgot to wear the beard guard in a silicon wafer, right? Stuff's going to go wrong. And that's where I think we're all going to be in here just fixing these issues. So I think we will transition. I'm not so naive. I think there'll be an impact. I think it's within the 5 to 10 year range. At that time, I'm hoping we're all smart enough and we're all getting enough information. We'll pivot. Humans will pivot. We'll do a thing.
Yeah. It's just funny when you say like how much more it will do for you. Like you just kind of wonder what that is. You go to a website and now you're able to do everything right there. It's like you're not. That's the part that I can't wrap my brain around. Technology and how easy it's gonna make it. But also it's a little scary too. Like if it gets too far.
I wonder if there'll ever be a software engineer union. That's always been reserved for different industries. I wonder if that's definitely happening in other industries right now. So I wonder if that'll occur. I don't think so though. I think we're too innovative and too disposable.
Well, Justin, I really appreciate you being here. Very insightful. How do people get a hold of you if they want to kind of get in touch with you or learn more about your products and services?
Yeah, so the big group is fractalgroup.io. You can check it out. There'll be links to all of our individual businesses there. Check me out on LinkedIn. I don't know if you have an opportunity to share the link for that later. Yeah, I'll do that. Cool. That's a great place. I do check that, and I keep regular updates going on LinkedIn very often, at least 2-3 times a day, or 2-3 times a week, I should say. Keeping active there. And then if you really want to get a hold of me directly, it's justin@fyclabs.com. If you have a project out there, you want to check out some of our tools, want to just talk shop, I'm definitely in that mindset right now of just meeting people and seeing what problems are out there and how we can help solve them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Jeremy, appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks again for joining us for Construction Executives Live. Another great episode. Hey, if you want to learn more about how you can donate to those relief efforts, please get in touch with me. If you ever want to get in touch with my network, as you may or may not know, I've created a service page on our website, so you'll have a way very similar to the Fractal Group in a way of tapping into my personal network of people in the construction industry who are doing great things. It's been very humbling for me to not only go on this entrepreneurial journey, very similar to Justin's, but it's been the most pleasure for me is just meeting the great people and learning from them and knowing that I have a network that will support me if the shit hit the fan for me. So that's been the biggest blessing for me is having that real robust network. I also have a group on LinkedIn too. If you're interested in joining a LinkedIn group, I created one for the construction industry called Construction and Remodeling Management Network. So I have a group there. If you want to join there, I've probably invited a lot of you. but just trying to bring conversations, a little bit quieter conversations about remodeling and about construction, because LinkedIn sometimes can be a little bit wild. So so I created that group as well. But if you ever have any needs and want to get in touch with me, Jeremy at usconstructionzone.com. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next.
You've been listening to In the Zone and Construction Executives Live with Jeremy Owens. Be sure to subscribe to In the Zone and stay in the know with the best minds in the construction industry. To nominate an innovator or change maker in the construction industry, connect with your management peers and stay up to date with construction industry news. Be sure to visit usconstructionzone.com.